Hey guys, how's it going? I've been back on RS for almost 2 weeks now, and I've been pretty much camping the shit out of Nex. And as such, I've been spamming people's newsfeed with drops, and I've had multiple people request that I make a Nex guide. So here it is. Since Jagex never fixed ranged-only instance kills, it is quite easy to achieve as many as 11 kills per hour with a significant amount of practice. Even if bossing isn't your strong point, this guide will hopefully help you learn solo Nex and turn it into something very profitable. Please note that this is a range-only guide, and I won't be including any information on maging or meleeing. Hope you all enjoy. So now onto the gear requirements, as well as some substitutes if you don't already have these things. For the absolute best in slot aura, you're going to be using Supreme Sharpshooter. You can sub this out for Reckless, but I don't really like the increased damage taken, as it increases the possibility of getting one shot if you take 2 prisons on Ice Phase, since Elite Void does not give an HP boost. Back this up with Viswax, as well as Aura Refreshers, Tier 4, if you want to keep doing this for several hours at a time. Next, you're going to be taking Supreme Overload Salves, though these can be always substituted for Supreme Overloads, plus Super Prey Renewals, and a Venom Blood perk on one of your items. You can also use Holy Overloads and Venom Blood for a bit of a cheaper option. So for your Scrimshaw slot, you're going to be using a Superior Scrimshaw of Cruelty or a Cruelty Scrimshaw if you don't have an unlimited supply of Ancient Bones, like myself. You can also use a Superior Scrimshaw of Ranging, and although this does provide a more consistent end to phases, especially on Blood Phase, I do find that overall it does increase the kill time compared to Cruelty. You can also use an Illuminated Ceradomin book or Armadil book, but I do think that Ceradomin would be the choice here, as I'm going to be moving Nex around quite a bit with frag shots and other things. Lastly, in the consumables box, I've chosen to take a Shadow Nihil over anything else, followed by a Pack Yak. The Shadow Nihil is great and it does speed up the kill times, however it does tend to aggro Nex when you don't want her aggroed, especially at the end of Blood Phase or end of Ice Phase, etc. A Pack-Yak can be used if you find yourself not having enough food to finish the kill. As far as food goes, I didn't put it on here, but you can take whatever kind of food that you want that gets you through the kill. For the next box, we have non-weapon equipment that you can potentially swap out for other more accessible gear. In the amulet slot, you should have either an Amulet of Souls or a Reaper necklace. I prefer to use an Amulet of Souls specifically because it reduces the damage you take on Blood Phase, though you can use the Reaper necklace as well for its great accuracy bonus. Other than that, you can use a Farsight Blood necklace, a Blood necklace, or a Fury, or even a Farsight Sniper necklace. In your ring slot, it really doesn't matter what you pick. Ring of Death has great stats, and the cost to reclaim gear is almost the same as buying Onyxes to charge your Ring of Death. Ring of Vigor and Asylum Surgeon's Ring are both great options for their in-combat abilities, though I do prefer to use Luck of the Dwarves just so I don't have to remember to switch rings at the end of each kill, plus to get another inventory slot out of it. For boots, the best you can wear is Acto Teralith boots, but any boots work, as long as they are melee style. This will reduce the chance of Nex hugging you non-stop, Shadow Phase being the most important to prevent this on. For your cape, if you're following this guide to the letter, you will want to take either Comp Cape or Max Cape for the teleport and the quick access to the boss portal. If you are not using the boss portal, then your banking will be extremely slow and much lower kills per hour. It may also be more beneficial to do endurance runs without the portal, but this guide is all about succeeding with range. For endurance runs, you will either need mage or melee in addition to range. Doing endurance runs won't let you follow this guide exactly, but the concepts of fighting Nex are similar, and it may be worth it to use your shield more often to reduce food. It may also be worth using power or tank armor for the much higher defense bonuses they provide compared to Void. For essential weapons and gear, I prefer to use dual Ascensions with a Calphite Repriser as my shield switch. You can also use an Ancient Repriser or a Tainted Repriser or a Vengeful Kite Shield if you don't have any of the defenders. With Ascension Crossbows, you don't have enough range to actually safe spot the minions, so you are going to want to bring a Royal Crossbow switch just so that you can avoid that damage. It doesn't seem like much, but it does add up over time. You can also use a Saren Godbow, however the Saren Godbow doesn't have enough range to safe spot the minions either, so you are going to want to take a Royal Crossbow switch with that one, and then a Vengeful Kite Shield for resonancing. If you use a Noxious Longbow, you do have enough range to safe spot the minion, so you can just use that for the entire time, plus a Vengeful Kite Shield for switching. For your gear, you're going to want to be using superior void equipment, plus elite body and legs for the free prayer bonus. And as always, you're going to need ancient ceremonial, plus a frozen key just to get into the next room. One more quick note about perks. Since I am only using void and can only augment my weapons and defender, I've chosen to put mobile on my main hand, impatient 3 on my offhand, and lucky 5 on my defender. There are many different perk options, but these are what works for me. Aftershock on your main hand is also a very viable option. Alright, now onto the presets portion of the guide. If you use presets, it can make as much of a half a kill per hour difference in time. I definitely recommend it. For your presets, you're going to have 2 different presets, and they will be set to Quick Preset 1 and Quick Preset 2. The essentials of Quick Preset 1 will be full Ancient Ceremonial, your Frozen Key, a Max Cape or Comp Cape, a spare Nihil pouch so you don't lose time refreshing your familiar. Obviously you can substitute this with a familiar of your choice if it's not a Nihil, your aura, and finally spare food with the runes for spiritualized food. Using spiritualized food can save you some GP on expensive Nihil pouches. You can use it once per familiar, and renewing your familiar will reset this restriction. It will extend the pouch by 20 minutes, allowing you to do more kills with that particular pouch. Having regular food in your inventory is important since you will be banking so quickly that you will not be in the bank long enough for the automatic health regeneration to kick in. I do recommend using sharks for this. Quick Preset 1 will be the one that you load when you hit max bank, and then you go through the portal with Preset 1 active. For Quick Preset number 2, you're going to require everything that you need to kill Nex with. This is the preset that you will load when you get to Nex Bank so that you can start the kill as fast as possible. You will need your full combat set of choice, 2 Super Restore flasks, 2 Ceradome and Brew flasks, magic note paper, as well as food. You may need to bring more than 2 Super Restore flasks if you're a beginner at this or just learning. Please note that if you are using a Beast of Burden for food, you will want to have the preset actively load your Beast of Burdens preset as well. Do this by clicking the cog next to your Quick Preset number 2 and selecting the Beast of Burden option. You will also need to save your Beast of Burden preset with food of your choice. When you're using presets to quick load your combat setup, it will deactivate your scrimshaw automatically, so don't forget to reactivate it at the beginning of each kill when you overload and turn your prayers on. Now it's time for a little run through of quick banking. As soon as you finish your kill, make sure you pick your drop up. If you're using the loot interface and there happens to be a bolt on the ground in the same stack, or you get a brew restore drop, you'll have to confirm the pickup options. If it is brews and restores, you will want to use your note paper to note everything before teleporting out. Once you teleport out and you get to the max guild, open up the bank. Since your preset keys are by default set to 1 and 2, simply hit your 1 key to load the preset and immediately run towards the boss portal, which should already be set to Nex. Once you arrive, jump through the doorway. I've noticed most people like to surge straight east, but that is a mistake. Since there's an ancient mage right there, it gives him multiple opportunities to freeze you and get permabound by rangers. Since Jagex hasn't fixed anticipation not working in the next kill count room in almost 5 years, I like to surge southeast diagonally. This gives a major 1 attack on me and doesn't often let a ranger attack me. Do this by clicking in the vicinity of the red box, and as soon as you pass the pillar highlighted by the red arrow, press your surge key. If you do happen to get frozen by the 1 single attack, press your freedom key and continue onto the doorway, being sure to eat your sharks up to full HP. Once you get into the bank area, you should already be full HP, so you won't have to wait until you go out of combat to heal. Open up the bank and hit your second preset immediately, then run to the barrier and rejoin or start your instance. Congratulations, you're now ready to get some drops. Alright guys, now that you've gotten through all the preparation nonsense, it's on to the part where you actually get to learn or pick up new tips on how to kill Nex. This part will be split up by phase, how to do each part, and what happens if things don't go according to plan. I will briefly touch base on DPS rotations, but only at very specific points during each kill. Setting up your action bar and using the right abilities at all other times is completely up to you. I also encourage innovation, as some of you may find or have already found faster methods. I also won't be going super in-depth on her abilities, as this is a more advanced guide, though I will include how many auto attacks she uses in between each special, as well as what special attack she will use at the start of each phase. It can be very useful to have audio on to hear the minion callouts. On to smoke phase. She will always initiate this phase using the virus special attack, and she will use 5 auto attacks in between each of her specials. Turn on Protection from Mage, your range boosting prayer, drink a dose of Overload Potion, and turn on your Scrimshaw. Ideally, you want to stand on the bridge on the location displayed. Start off by using Frag Shot on her, then run 4 squares to the west to pull her up and double the Frag Shot damage. While you are running, mash your Corruption Shot key. Once Corruption Shot fires, use another basic attack and quickly run to the highlighted square before Nex fires her next auto attack. If you do this correctly, then you can use Anticipation and gain some adrenaline while she is wasting time trying to regain line of sight of you. After you use Anticipation, click on Nex when she is about to get to you so you fire off an auto immediately before your next ability. Once you get to 50% adrenaline, use Snapshot and wait until your Frag Shot is ready, use Frag Shot as soon as it is available, and then follow it by using Corruption Shot. If you've done this correctly, you will have stacked both bleeds on her while she performs the Bridge Rush attack. Stay on your square and wait for her to come back up to you. You can now use Rapid Fire, and a few other basics should be enough to trigger the Smoke Minion. Alternatively, check out this next scenario. If you have the Impatient perk on one of your weapons, it is sometimes possible to use Rapid Fire instead of Snapshot as your first threshold. Take a close look at the cooldown of Frag Shot. If you have followed the previous instructions and successfully lured Nex off the bridge, think of Frag Shot cooldown as a clock. If your adrenaline passes 50% before the Frag Shot cooldown has hit 9 o'clock, you are safe to use Rapid Fire for most of its duration. Follow it up with Frag Shot and Corruption Shot for the double bleed effect as she does the Bridge Rush attack. Sometimes on Smoke Phase, as shown here, Nex likes to grab you on her very first attack. If she does this, instantly freedom and run to the minion killing spot, using another basic ability while you run. This will allow you to have enough adrenaline to still use Snapshot and then use the double bleed strategy as she does her first Bridge Rush attack. After she grabs you, don't forget to turn your prayer back on, and also remember, if you are double bleeding her for her first bridge attack, you can turn on Soul Split for the first 2 or 3 ticks of the bleed, and heal off of that. Now it's time for the Smoke Minion. Most of the time, the strategy is going to be the same for all the minions. All of them have an auto attack range of 7, which means that if you stand 8 or 9 squares away, you can still attack them and they can't damage you. Unfortunately, Ascension crossbows have a 7 square range, so the Royal Crossbow switch is how we will deal with them. This grid shown on screen will help you see where to stand so that you can kill the minions safely. Also, since Nex's Ice Prison is symmetrical, look at the top of the grid, which is shown as a red line. You can see how the empty space that this meets is also a straight line. This is the same for all minions on 2 different sides. You can kill them from 6 different squares on either side as long as you stay 8 or 9 squares away, which is conveniently right next to the flat line that connects the empty space to the areas you can stand on. Time for the Shadow Phase. As soon as you kill the Smoke Minion, tag her into Shadow Phase. The first example shown will be if you tagged her after she used her Bridge Rush attack. She will start with Fear the Shadow, and place a shadow circle on the ground. Be sure that you move off of it because it can easily hit for over 4k damage. She will then use Embrace Darkness, and once again use Fear the Shadow, placing another circle on the ground that you will need to dodge. After this, she will begin auto-attacking for the rest of the phase, however, after every 4 autos she will place another shadow circle to dodge. The second example is if you tag her before she uses the Bridge Rush attack. She will start with Embrace Darkness and then place a single shadow circle that you have to dodge. This is where she starts auto-attacking, which means that you will have less time to Soul Split in this scenario than the first one. To me, Shadow Phase is basically the HP recovery phase, and the only one you will get for the entire next kill. At the beginning of the phase, when she is using the Shadow Circle attacks, you are free to Soul Split for as long as you want. I try to stack as many bleeds on her and then crank out a Rapid Fire and a Snapshot. Just make sure you don't Rapid Fire and then stand on a Shadow Circle. This usually heals me for any HP I may have lost during Smoke Phase. When she starts auto-attacking, you need to switch to Protect Range, else you risk taking massive damage. Once the phase is complete, you can head over to the minion. I have again placed a grid on the ground of where to stand. You should now understand the concept of safe spotting the minions and be able to replicate it for all of them. Keep your range spray on for now while you safe spot Umbra and finish him off, making sure that you dodge any shadow circles Nex may put under you. The next phase is Blood Phase. I'll start by saying that you should be 100% adrenaline after killing Umbra using only basics, especially the bleeds. The best way I've found to do blood phase is to go a few squares away from Nex and use Death Swiftness before attacking her. Wait a tick, and then click on Nex to auto her, and immediately use Needle Strike. Try to do it in the same tick. When phases change, there are a few game ticks that you can't actually attack her, but as long as the attack has actually been fired, it will damage her before the siphon. During this null time, use Freedom, then Anticipation, and then Frag Shot a Blood Reaver if it's nearby. You can also use Corruption Shot if there are two Reavers close together and not near Nex. Wait another game tick, and then click on Nex and quickly use Snipe. You want to initiate with the Snipe ability, not an auto attack, so as you're clicking on her, you should be mashing your Snipe key. If this is done correctly, Nex will be flinched when the Snipe attack hits and delay her first auto, assuming your familiar does not trigger aggro. Drink your Adrenaline Pot and use Rapid Fire, followed by either Snapshot or Shadow Tendrils. If all goes well, she will be one or two abilities away from calling Cruor. At the point where you are casting Snapshot or Tendrils, she will also call for a Blood Sacrifice. You need to be at least 6-ish squares away to not get hit by this, though if you do, she will deal some extra damage and heal 10k HP. In some situations, your familiar will trigger aggro on Nex, causing her to attack slightly earlier after the first siphon. This happens if your familiar would have hit if Nex was able to be damaged by familiars. This can cause things to get a little hairy as she will get to the next siphon quicker, but if you have as much or more accuracy than I have in this video, you should be okay. One thing I want to touch base on before talking about the minion is what to do if you have to deal with multiple siphons. This can and will happen, especially if you're just learning. Sometimes accuracy just screws you and you just don't hit. In this situation, I missed a snipe and tendrils and it forced me to deal with a second siphon. I cannot stress this enough. If her HP is too high after the second siphon, you absolutely need to focus on the Reavers to DPS them down. If you break line of sight to Nex right when she siphons, you're free to kill the Reavers completely as long as Nex doesn't aggro on you due to your familiar, or if you walk back in line of sight. Use your thresholds to deal with her after the second siphon, and it should be enough to make her call Cruor. If you have to take a third siphon, it's not uncommon after taking an extra siphon to have to deal with one more, but once you get your DPS rotations down, it's not really up to RNG anymore. Nex's order of attacks during Blood Phase are as follows. Siphon, 3 auto attacks, Blood Sacrifice, 3 auto attacks, and back to another siphon. If you get hit by the Blood Sacrifice, she will fire 4 autos before using the siphon. Keep that in mind when we talk about Cruor. How you kill Cruor really depends on how fast Blood Phase goes and how much you are willing to just tank Nex's auto attacks to phase her at the right time. The bottom line is that you will be safe spotting Cruor unless you have Devotion active, and then you have a choice of either delaying the tag as shown. Since you are tagging her after the sacrifice attack, she will initiate Ice Phase with Contain This instead of a Prison. This can buy you precious time and increase the likelihood of only having a 1 Prison Ice Phase. In this example, I used Devotion after the minion died so it didn't drain adrenaline, and then I ate as much slow food as I could to get to full HP. I let Nex auto-attack me 3 times, use the sacrifice attack, and then I tag her into ice. Alternatively, you can immediately tag her with 0 fucks given, prison first attack or not. This usually means that you will be taking 2 or more prisons on ice phase, but if you haven't eaten much food then it doesn't really matter. Once you get skilled enough at soloing strategies, it won't matter too much which method you use. If you are experienced with a shield as well, you can usually salvage a kill anyways, no matter what happens. On to ice phase. If you remember what I said about Blood Phase and getting an ability in before the null period where she is changing phases, you should get this down pretty easily. The best way I've found to tag ice if you're full adrenaline is an auto attack followed immediately by a snapshot. If you constantly break line of sight by running around the corners right before her autos, you will be able to stack both bleeds, a rapid fire, and get back up to 100% adrenaline to deadshot her. If you manage all this before the first prison, you have a very high chance of doing a 1 prison ice phase. If not, don't fret too much. In this particular example, I was unable to fit the deadshot in, and I did end up taking a second prison. In order to do ice phase efficiently, you should be running around corners as much as possible so that Nex delays her attacks even further. This is especially helpful with frag shot as it is almost consistently doing double damage. For Ice Phase, her pattern of attacking is Prison, 5 auto attacks, Contain This, 3 auto attacks, and another Prison. Sometimes she will run up to you, and this can be particularly useful when she prisons you as long as she is outside of the ice barrier. Obviously, if she uses contain this and runs up to you, that's not exactly a good thing, so you'll want to try and run away, and if you absolutely can't get away, the easiest way to not take the damage and get stunned is to surge. This next section explains how to survive ice prisons. Even from full HP, she can one-shot you if the mage attack happens in the same tick as the ice prison damage and you don't get your prayer on in time. So I'm going to teach you how to save resonance until you absolutely need it. Use Nex's attack patterns I gave you to predict when she will prison, and use anticipation before it or freedom after you get hit by it. Switch to your defender or shield while eating to full HP, and then watch the next 4 segments to see potential ways to survive the prison. In the first situation, Nex is at a distance from me. You should have resonance at the ready. In the instant she fires her first mage attack after using the prison on you, watch your character very closely. If you see a blue shield splat on your character like the one in the red box, then you don't need to use resonance as you know the attack will miss. Flip on your prayer and eat back up to a safe HP, switching back to your offhand and continue DPSing Nex to finish ice phase. In the second situation, Nex is also at a distance. Once again with resonance at the ready, watch your character very closely as she fires her first mage attack. This time there is no hit splat at all, so you know the mage attack will do damage once it gets to you. Use resonance now, then flip mage prayer on after it hits, eat back up to a safe HP, switch back to your offhand, and continue DPSing Nex. In the third situation, Nex starts at a distance. She casts her prison attack on you and then walks up to the prison, but she gets trapped with the ice crystals between you and her. This is one of the most ideal situations because she wants to melee you and can't, which will delay her next auto attack and therefore increase the time until the next prison. You will not need to resonance here, but flip protect melee on and eat up, switching back to your offhand for continued DPS. In the last situation, Nex is right on top of you or right next to you when she casts the prison attack. You can be almost certain that she will melee you, but even if she doesn't, you won't have enough time to react to check the shield icon to resonance in time. I highly recommend you resonance early in this situation if you recognize it. If you don't, it is very easy to die. Now on to Glacies. He is the most annoying of the 4 minions simply because if you get stuck without prey on and he hits you, he will bind you over and over and over with no remorse. This clip is of an ideal ice minion where I'm able to break line of sight of Nex when she uses contain this, therefore breaking aggro, and freely kill the minion at the safe spot, even soul splitting. Although it wasn't necessary to do this, if you want a 1 prison ice phase you will have to learn. You can also simply pray mage and kill the minion with your ascensions, making sure to avoid Nex's attacks if she is on you. Once Glacies is dead, tag Nex into the final phase, which is Zaros. She will recover 32k HP, gain the ability to use Soul Split and Protect for melee, provided she isn't protecting mage, and also gain a soft cap for single hits, meaning that rapid fire and your bleed attacks are particularly effective compared to your other abilities. At the start of this phase, I usually devotion and try to eat to full. Then I run around like a monkey, since her mage attack is much less damaging than her melee attack. If I can get her to mage, then I am conserving food and dealing more DPS as the food won't be sapping my adrenaline. If Nex is protecting mage, that usually makes for a faster kill as she won't be soul splitting any HP back. If she is not praying mage, she will continue to melee and mage, but change prayer every 3 auto attacks in this order, starting with soul split, then protect for melee, and then no prayer. You will want to use Death Swiftness at some point during this phase, and if you drink your adrenaline pot, it will allow for 2 snapshots or 2 rapid fires in your Death Swiftness cloud. I recommend 2 rapid fires. Be sure to use your bleed abilities as they never hit Nex's soft cap. Keep DPSing her down, making sure to keep your HP over 2400. Once you kill her, you can collect your shit drop, bank, and be on your way to another kill. On screen now is a quick reference that you can use to help learn the phases if you need it. Pause the video or check the link in the description if you want to save it. A quick note on using the shield hit splat for precognition on if you should resonance or turn your prayer back on. It does not work on all phases. It doesn't work on blood since she hits 100% of the time, and it doesn't work on shadow or smoke. It does, however, work on Angel of Death, which means that you can soul split the entire time unless you know you're getting hit, and then you can flick protection for mage on and back to soul split. And that does it. I thank you all very much for watching. This video took longer to make and edit than any other I have made yet. Hopefully it makes up for my lack of videos the past couple years. If you have any questions or additional tips and tricks, be sure to leave a comment. And with that, I'll see you next time.